UV resin. I am really hopeful that that's going to be my solution. What I really want to be able to do is to dip biscuits and cookies in resin so that I can duplicate them using silicone. These are my chosen cookies, Biscoff and Oreo. Do you think it's going to be super easy with resin? Let's see. When I dunk these straight into resin, they go gloopy and thick and lose all the detail. There's not quite enough detail on these cookies for my liking, so I'm going to scratch in just a little bit more detail before adding a coat of resin. Making sure I dust off any crumbs, we don't want those hanging around. So that I can get these to set really quickly, I'm going in with some UV resin, a nice light coat over the top. All smoothed out, I did hope that the resin would soak into the biscuit just a little bit, but it seems to be more sitting on the top. So I'm not completely convinced that this is going to be the way that's going to work. So I have myself some plasticine here, and I'm going to try and add some of this plasticine to make a little bit more of a raised lotus biscuit design. In a few projects that I've been testing out recently, I've been using plasticine in silicone molds and it works really great, so that's why I'm using this right now. It's really easy to mold, you can take your time with it, and it does work great with the silicone. This cookie just to my right that I added the UV resin to, I will put that under the UV lamp shortly, just when I've added this one. With the plasticine it is a little bit fiddly with something of this size, but I'm just going to take my time and form that lotus shape. You get the idea. I really hope all this effort is worth it, but I think it's really worth that test to see how well this one stands out compared to the other cookie, which hasn't had any other extras added to it, it's just the UV resin. I cure everything with a UV heat lamp. If this works out, just think of the other designs you could complete in this way as well. Now that I've done this on the actual size biscuit, I'm thinking if I'm going to recreate this whole thing, I would actually try and make it smaller so that I could make it into some small key rings, or I can make some little earrings or kind of jewellery in this way. So I've printed myself out a small biscuit shape and I'm going to use this as my template. This again is plasticine, and so this time I'm going to create the whole cookie out of the plasticine. Being smaller again, it's really a challenge, but I do love to give myself a challenge, and this whole project is a challenge. I have this plasticine because my kids absolutely love to make plasticine characters, but is there anything you maybe used plasticine for, or have you never used it at all before? It's a fun little craft medium and it's really cheap and easy to get hold of, so maybe give it a go. My mini cookie is now ready and I'm going to see how this does in some silicone. I have this really neat gadget which is for silicone mold making, but you can also use a Tupperware tub or a cookie cutter. This just allows me to piece the pieces together till I get the size I require, and I can use it over and over again. I've added double-sided tape to the base, I have a plastic sheet and I'm attaching this in place like this. I also add double-sided tape to the three designs. I'm placing these inside the box, attaching to the plastic sheet. This is now silicone and I measure 2 equal parts by weight of each of the parts of the silicone and stir these together till fully combined. I slowly and steadily pour this over and leave it to firm up for 24 hours. I repeat the same for this, but this time using a plastic tub. This is 24 hours later and I'm able to remove the silicone molds from their containers. So let's see how they're looking so far. The plasticine one is definitely looking very positive, and the half and half one not looking too bad too. This one is slightly sticky on the outside, so I'll leave it to see if it firms up any more. And the moment of truth for our cookie with just the UV resin. And yes, it's looking okay. Maybe slight areas of slight stickiness, so again I'm going to leave that for a couple of hours and see if it sets. I was really enjoying myself experimenting with this, so I made myself another plasticine lotus biscuit in a different size. Always leave newly made silicone molds for another 24 hours before adding any resin, which is what we're going to do next. I'm mixing up a shiny biscuit colour in the UV resin, and I'm going to test out these new silicone moulds. If this works out well and I can make some resin cookies, I'll be able to turn these into keychains, jewellery, hair clips, anything of our choice. In case you didn't know, a little bit of heat helps pop any of those bubbles that are coming to the surface. As it's UV resin, I add it under the heat lamp and I'm curing these. Make sure you do the underside as well so that all of it can be fully cured. So on to the results. Let's see how they got on. I'm fairly impressed with this one, to be honest, that we did get some detail and it didn't all just go sticky. So seeing that one, these ones should really have done okay as well. And yes, as expected, some great detail in there. It's not perfect by any means, but I'm really happy that that's come out like that. I do think in some different colours these will be even better still. I'm now thinking I don't just want to do some lotus biscuits, I want to create some other designs in this way. You could add some paint to these to bring out those details on like a dry brush effect. That definitely would work well. Because that worked with the bare biscuit, I thought I'm going to try this more detailed Oreo cookie and see if I can get a silicone mould out of my Oreo cookie. So I went in a little bit more detailed with the resin there, and I've gone through the whole process again in the same way. I let it cure overnight, but nope. All I got was a sticky mess. None of that lovely detail whatsoever. And so I moved back to my successful moulds and tried out some different colours. There has to be a way to recreate these Oreo cookies, so I'm going to try yet again. Take a look at my next video. Thank you for watching.